those of you that are returning, welcome back. And for those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your support. This is the monthly Tarotscope for the sign of Taurus for December of 2020. So if you have a sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Taurus, you may want to watch this video, or if you have heavily placed planets in the sign of Taurus. What was I going to say? If you're watching this on behalf of a Taurus, that's completely welcome and appreciated. Please share the video out amongst your Taurian friends. If you know of anybody that can use the video, I greatly appreciate it. If anything doesn't make sense or doesn't apply to your life, that's completely fine. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. This is a broad spectrum reading intended for a lot of people who may potentially watch it. So you kind of have to take what you need and leave the rest. Apply whatever applies. Figure out where it fits in your life. If it does fit or does make sense, any decisions that you do choose to make in your life after having watched this video are your responsibility. So keeping that in mind, and never take my advice over the advice of a professional in their field, be it a lawyer, a doctor, whomever. Always trust your own intuition, your own intelligence first and foremost. So let's see what's going on with the sign of Taurus for December of 2020. The cards that I chose as the sort of guide for this month, this first card is from the Angels and Ancestors deck by Kyle Gray. I thought it would be a great deck to use to end out the year. Also, we're in the holiday season, so it's a time of kind of coming together with our ancestors or our family, and also honoring those that have gone before us. So I just thought this was a beautiful way to do that. So we'll see what my Taurians need to focus on, or maybe, channel during the month of December with this first card. Ooh, got it. Autumn. Release the old and rest. I love it. Definitely Four of Swords energy. Okay. I'm not sure because I'm not going to open the book on this one, but I believe this. I'm going to say it's a crow, right? It could be a raven, but I think it's a crow. I'm going to just go with the fact that it's a crow. If it's a raven, it would be more about magic. If it's a crow, it's about law. And to me, I feel like this is the sort of the steadiness. I like that this is an air bird. A bird. An air bird. Oh my God, Dan, what are you doing? All right, this is an element of air, right? The bird represents something that sort of lives in the world of the air symbolism, right? But we have this, you guys are an earth sign. So I love that there's the lightness of this bird and the awareness of the crow, right? The crow can sort of see things from a bigger perspective, from high above, from a bird's eye view. So when I think about this, release the old and rest, there might be something that we need to let go of. There might be something that we need to sort of get a new viewpoint on. But we're also allowing ourselves the freedom to kind of rest as we go into 2021. This sort of seems a little bit similar to Capricorns. What's going on with the earth sign? Why are you all fighting against stuff? I don't feel like this bird is fighting by any means, but I feel like there's a freedom that you guys can give yourself this month. There is a opportunity that can be bestowed upon yourself through, releasing whatever's not working for you, whatever is tying you down, or trying to pull your focus and turn your focus inward. Grant yourself that peace and rest. That there's a sort of a transformation that also takes place in autumn where things kind of die away. I mean, we're a little bit beyond autumn at this point. I think we may not fully be in winter yet. We might just be finishing out autumn. But, there's that period where the last bits of life fall from the trees, and then we go dormant where we're supposed to go inward. We're supposed to rest. Animals hibernate during this sort of period. So this is a beautiful time for Taurians to kind of go inward and find those answers, that better perspective, that fresher perspective, that bird's eye view, understanding sort of the law of the land, or what we know to be true for ourselves as we head into not only December, but also into 2021. All right, so let's see what's going on in the cards for my Taurians. My sexy Taurus babies. You bullheaded, lazy motherfuckers. Just kidding. Well, for some of you, maybe I'm kidding. I don't know. All right, I love me some Taurus. Don't want to piss the Taurus off, though. Let me tell you that. Okay. All right, this first card represents as the U card. It tells me kind of where you're going to be centered at in the month of December. It's not necessarily, the entire month, just in and out of this card. You'll find yourself being in and out of this energy throughout the month. It's kind of like also sort of a theme of what you could potentially be creating for yourself in the future too. I love it. So you guys have Temperance, Major Arcana. So this is big energy. This is about sort of rest. Temperance is about, kind of finding that balance in life. In a very big way, in a very profound way. Temperance is associated with the sign of Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, but it's all about sort of expansion, abundance, finding peace, finding the right sort of mixture or the right balance within ourselves, both emotionally, action-oriented. Sorry, that didn't come out right. How do I want to describe this? Like, it would be about taking appropriate action when needed, but also sort of like resting and kind of finding the right mix of when to feel, when to think, when to act, when to do kind of thing, right? And I think that this is a powerful card for you guys this month. It feels like it may not be the fastest moving month, but that's okay. Taurus likes to move at a more steady pace that feels more controlled. It's more thought out. It's more careful. What's the word? Like, there's no bull in the china shop energy here. Does that make sense? This is about like kind of really balancing our energies, our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, and bringing them into alignment so that we can have this sense of peace moving through the month of December. I actually really like this coupled with this autumn card, because it's sort of, even with autumn as the like sort of trees fade, the seasons change, things get a little bit more quiet, we can hear this softer voice of Temperance, right? We can sort of act on these actions or sort of like indulge this energy of Temperance right now and allow it to kind of heal us in a way and also empower us, right? Because Temperance is although it's a sort of sweet, softer energy about finding balance, it's also a very strong energy because it's the Major Arcana. So it's going to bring us like sort of, I feel like, a very big benefit, even if it may not feel like it's coming on so strong, if it's not like so forceful. We may have to actively sort of, not actively, but we may have to search it out a little bit or really practice at it, right? Be conscious and aware of how we're behaving or where we're overextending ourselves or underextending ourselves. Do you know what I'm saying? That's kind of this energy of Temperance. And that's sort of this idea of releasing the old and resting and allowing us this grace period. So the next card is what I call the foundation card. This is sort of what happened in the past that opened the door for all these cards to be the way that they are today. It tells me a little bit about sort of not only what went on in the past, but it can sometimes represent the memory of this card sometimes holds everything in place, or it could be potentially pushing everything forward into the future. So this is the Five of Swords. So Five of Swords to me is about kind of conflict, conflicting energy, a little bit of like misunderstood or cross messages, if that makes sense. Swords is about the element of air and the mind. To me, Five is about change. I kind of feel like this is some of whatever this release the old is. This is what we're sort of trying to walk away from or leave, depart away from, free ourselves from. There is a little bit of indecision in this Five of Swords. So somewhere in the past, we might have been in conflict with somebody, struggling with somebody else in their ideas or their beliefs. We may have had to let that go or walk away from that or deny it all the way altogether, if that makes sense. In doing so, it maybe opened up a new path for us. It might have opened up a new opportunity. That's kind of also the feeling that I get with this guy climbing over the fence. It sort of speaks to this idea that there might be something that we opened up when we became in sort of resistance or in conflict to whatever this moment was in our past. It sort of opened up the opportunity for us to move forward in a way that we maybe didn't understand. So some of my Taurians, you guys might have left a job or left a partnership, like a relationship, whatever it was, because it was sort of at a crossroads, is that feeling that I get. And because that change took place, it's what's sort of placed you in December, sort of bringing things back into balance through this Temperance card, back into this space of releasing the old and resting. So whatever this was that you had to sort of walk away from because of whatever, conflict, however bad it may have been, it's bringing about this opportunity for you to reassess and kind of calibrate in a way, in a very powerful way, to be honest, with that Temperance card in the center. So don't take this for granted, and also don't look at whatever struggles you dealt with in the past and had to maybe separate yourself from or give up on. There could be some of that going on. If you're judging yourself for that, stop. That's kind of the feeling, like if you think like, oh, I should have been able to do this better, I should have been able to shoulder that, I should have been able to fix it, don't do that to yourself. That's kind of this release the old and rest idea with this crow. It's like the crow knows the law, right? There probably wasn't anything you could have done better, is my feeling. Just looking at these 3 cards, that's sort of the message that I'm getting. Is it's like in your being honest or telling the truth, right? And maybe walking away or separating yourself or realizing like this is not working anymore, you've actually opened the door for you to be able to see the truth and to find this sort of peace and reassess and recalibrate yourself so that you can get on to things that will be better suited to you or won't offer so much sort of conflict, if that makes sense. Now, the next card is the soul or spirit card. This tells me what your soul or spirit wants you to work on during the month of December. Oh, hey, get a 2 of Cups. So 2 of Cups is always, Cups is water and the element of the emotions, right? 2 of Cups can definitely signify love, a significant love at that. When I think of twos also speak to the deepening of relationships. This being in the spirit space, I feel like this is like Taurus appreciating themselves more than anybody else. I don't think that this necessarily, because of the position of this, I don't necessarily know that this is about finding like one's true love if you're a Taurus. I think this is about finding appreciation of self and honoring self first and foremost. It's like your higher self wants to almost take care of you through this Temperance card, right? That's this sort of release the old and rest kind of idea, like taking this sort of, energy of not, I don't want to say like 4 of Swords, because that's kind of like hiding out. To me, this is about honoring yourself first, being fair and balanced within yourself, letting go of any sort of past misgivings where you might see it as a failure, letting all of that go and really concentrating on taking care of you in this month. Like if anything, the December might very much be a self-care month for my Tauruses, right? About bonding, like your allegiance to yourself is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this. This 2 of Cups is about emotional appreciation of who we are for what we are, not necessarily judging ourselves for what we've done in the past. And that's sort of the conflict. If there is conflict in any of these cards, I feel like the 2 of Cups wants us to honor who we are and love ourselves for it, even amidst anything where we feel like maybe we failed or we didn't do the right thing, which is in that 5 of Swords. Does that make sense? If we have anybody telling us like, oh, you failed me, or you didn't put in enough, or you could have been better at this, or even if it's our own self telling us that, we need to not listen to that voice this month. We need to not allow that voice to kind of be our sort of driving the car, if that makes sense, right? We don't want that voice to be the voice that we're listening to above all. We want this voice of the 2 of Cups, which is this sort of appreciation and love of oneself, flaws and all, and allowing for that to pervade and also come through this Temperance card that's in our center. All right, so let's look at the outside influences. The outside influences are people, sometimes events, sometimes things more vague like belief systems or energies that are having an effect on us during the month of December. These are things that we just need to be aware of. They're not necessarily positive or negative, but we need to know what's going on around us, what might be affecting us. So we have the 7 of Swords on one side. And to me, this is kind of like, not the best card. It's sort of annoying, if anything. It feels like, maybe opinionated people kind of challenging us, telling us maybe how we should be, potentially maybe judging us. This could be situations where we feel in conflict or where we're fighting with people. This could be situations where we're being lied to. This is kind of like the liar, cheater, stealer card, right? Where the truth isn't fully being told to us. I love that we have this temperance card in the center, which that speaks to this idea of still remaining calm, even in the midst of maybe areas where we're being judged or lied to. You know, lies can be told through judgments, right? Where we're being, you know, told we are one thing or another. That could be the lie that the Seven of Swords represents. There's also lies we could be telling ourselves, right? Through, if we're focusing more on areas where we felt as though we failed ourselves or others, where we felt like, oh, I could have done better. Well, you couldn't have because you didn't. So like, let that go is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. Channel this temperance energy about balance and kindness to yourself and love. Don't get on the bandwagon to kind of rail against yourself. The Seven of Swords on the outside says to me that there's going to be other opportunities where either these memories will come up, or there will be other situations where fighting or whatever, competition, opinions, whatever will come into play, opinions of others that are going to challenge our peace this month. The problem, it's not a problem. What I'm going to say is the challenge is not to shift into it and engage in that. We want to keep this temperance in our center. We want to keep this Two of Cups as our higher perspective. We want to keep this releasing the old and resting through the month of December. We want to go into 2021 kind of refreshed. And so I feel like the Seven of Swords is only just a challenge to us to see, are we going to slip back into this self-judgment or like, I kind of feel like this Five of Swords to me was sort of this struggle bus energy that we want to be free of before the year is over. Right? We don't want to carry it through. So the Seven of Swords to me feels like it's an opportunity for us to, yes, have another, like, more annoying experiences that come up or other people's opinions or kind of drama going on around us, but we can maintain this temperance. We can maintain this Two of Cups, this centered love, sort of putting ourselves first before anybody else kind of energy, and not in a selfish way, just in a sort of self-preserving kind of way. Ultimately, the Seven of Swords, their opinions don't really matter. They're lies, ultimately, right? They're deceit in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's us deceiving ourselves or others deceiving us or helping us to deceive ourselves by, you know, playing devil's advocate, whatever, don't listen to them. Fuck them. I mean, excuse my language, but don't. You've done it. Like the Five of Swords says to me, you've put yourself through the ringer enough, Taurus. Let it go. All right, so the next outside influence is the Knave of Chalices, the Page of Cups. I love this guy. He's always really charming. He can sometimes pretend to love too. With this Two of Cups, I will say this. For some of my Taurians, y'all might be, some of you, I'm not going to say all of you, because I think some of you, this is more about letting negative self opinions go this month. I think that's going to be far more impactful for the majority of my Taurians, especially with that release the old and rest. But I do see where this could chime in as a love reading because of that Two of Cups in the spirit space, and the what would be the Page of Cups in the outside influences. Like there could be somebody exuberant, excited that maybe likes you, that wants to come together with you. But that might only be for a very few of you, so you could keep an eye out for that. Cups would be about the water signs, you know, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. If anything, I feel like this is an opportunity to learn, if this is not a specific person and a love interest, right? For the others of you where I feel like this is about falling in love with ourselves again, the Knave of Cups energy is about sort of learning about our emotions, learning about the depth of those emotions. I feel like the Knave of Cups always brings like a sweetness with him. He's always sort of charming and maybe a little bit naive, but there's a sweetness to him. There's an opportunity here where he kind of, I almost feel like if you look at the water that this angel's pouring in between the two cups in the temperance card, I feel like he's bringing her that water, right? He's bringing her this sweetness. So the way that I sort of metaphorically read into that is that like through the situations around us, there is opportunities to either choose to listen to the sweetness of the situation and see where we do what's right, where we do what's kind, where we do the sort of honorable or sweeter thing, or we could be caught up in the Seven of Swords energy, which is, the opinions of others where they think you're a failure, or they think you're a fraud, or they think you could have done this better, or whatever. They're critical, they're this, they're that. All that shit is lies. Excuse me, I just took a sip of soda. All of that stuff is lies, and it's all not to be trusted. So I would say be careful about who you or what information you let in this month, because it's about maintaining this temperance. The name of chalices, or the Page of Cups, is going to teach us through our emotions about how we can grow ourselves, how we can educate ourselves, how we can become masters of what's pure and good about us, what feels right about ourselves. Temperance is going to also expand upon that and show us that through maintaining that balance and that honor, right? Temperance is associated with the sign of Sagittarius, but also with the planet of Jupiter, which is all about sort of abundance. It's a benefic planet. It's all about sort of expansion in good ways. So as long as we keep that balance, we can continue to sort of expand and appreciate ourselves more and more and more, and build upon that, and no longer have to hear the sort of dicey mental thoughts that maybe have held us captive for the months past. And we can also kind of potentially close out or not engage with those thoughts or voices from the outside world, which would be that Seven of Swords. Does that make sense? So there is an opportunity to be conscious about what we're choosing to let in. This is also similar to Capricorn's reading. Although to me, this feels a little bit also about our own personal, like when I'm looking at these cards, this feels a little bit about our own personal dialogue we have about ourselves and our own self-worth for the month of December for my Taurians. Like, you guys need to let yourselves off the hook is the feeling that I'm getting here. All right, so the next card is the potential outcomes card. This tells me where things will end up for the majority of Tauruses by the month's end. If this is not set in stone, so if this is a negative card, we can use free will and make choices and changes now. Use the card as a warning to affect the outcome, so this card does not come to pass. But if this card is a good card and we want to see this outcome, we can take heart in the fact that we're naturally heading towards it, barring that nothing major changes. So let's see what this is. Okay, I'll take it. Knight of Wands. So Knight of Wands is a fire energy, which is, it's okay. It's not necessarily earth energy, but it's also not, it's not water, but it is a productive, desirous energy, right? There feels like there's a renewal of spirit happening, right? When we see this Knight of Wands coming up by the end of the month. The Knight of Wands can be about taking action, but doing so in a way that is loyal, in servitude, for the right reasons, honorable. All of those things that I kind of associate also with the sign of Taurus, right? You guys like that kind of energy of doing things for the right reasons. And so I feel like knights represent that kind of aspect. The fire aspect, or the wands, represents sort of the idea of taking action, the element of spirit and strong desire. So when I look at that, the month of December feels like it is about sort of staying in this temperance. Again, temperance being associated with Sagittarius, which is that fire energy, right? Let's keep that in mind too. I'm just picking up that. That leads us, if we keep that balance and we sort of explore this love of self, this appreciation of self, and build upon this through our higher self in that Two of Cups energy that we have up here, that sort of sets up the space for this Knight of Wands to come in, right? For us to become the Knight of Wands, where we feel like we're ready to take action. We're feeling like we're ready to take on 2021 in a very sort of invigorated, excited way, right? If we look at this Knight, he's like sort of charging off into the future, ready to hit 2021 running. That's also the energy of the Knight of Wands. He can want to move in quick and kind of maybe doesn't have enough staying power. But I think that because you guys are Taurus, right, the sign of Taurus, which is all about staying power, even to sometimes into the realm of stubbornness, but with that temperance in the center, because Knight of Wands can definitely represent for Sagittarian energy too. So we have Sagittarius here twice. If we've studied and learned and spent a lot of time in this Temperance and not allowed outside influences to rock us, right? We kind of are set up to really ride into 2021 without that lack of staying power that I feel like the Knight of Wands represents. Does that make sense? I feel like we're able to truly let go of the past, and we have rested throughout the month of December. So we are ready to kind of charge into 2021, ready and raring to go, ready to create from our desire, from that space of spirit, to take action, but to also take action for the right reasons. I also feel like when I'm looking at this Knight of Wands, he's not listening to anybody else's opinions of him anymore. Even his own opinions of himself have changed. And I think that that's also the energy that we see up there in that Two of Cups. It's like, raise yourself up. And again, I'm going to go back to this bird's eye perspective, because that's also this Two of Cups energy in our higher self space up here. I said about the crow being able to like rise up and look at things from a bigger picture. That's what this is. Like, rise up into that love of self, that Two of Cups. Embrace everything about you, Taurus. Like, all of the good, the bad, and the otherwise, and find that sort of the blessing that's within that. There's temperance in all of it. Even the stuff that you might have seen in the past as failures this year, or maybe in the years past, and you haven't quite been able to let them go. Release yourself. Let yourself have that rest. Let yourself have that grace. Give yourself that this month. As you do that, these opportunities from this Page of Cups or Knave of Chalices come in, where we get to learn a little bit more emotionally about who we are and what we're made of. We open up the door to even more temperance, to more balance, to more like compassion towards our own selves. And if we're not, like, what is it that RuPaul Drag Race says, like, how can you love somebody else if you can't love yourself? How can you love somebody else, or whatever? It's kind of like that thing. Right? If we can't allow ourselves these graces, how can we expect the world to? And I kind of get a feeling from these cards that maybe in the last few months you guys have been a little bit hard on yourselves, and maybe you haven't been able to offer yourself these graces. Maybe you've been putting a little bit too much pressure on your shoulders, or a little bit expecting too much, or, you know, expecting things out of situations and blaming yourself because they didn't, you know, maybe turn out the way you thought. It's not your fault, if that makes any sense. So I don't know if this resonates for my Taurians. I hope that it does. I do see, like, with that Knight of Wands at the end of the month, it feels like there's a renewed sense of vigor or excitement, desire, all of that kicks off. So I feel like anything that you guys are going through, as long as you're keeping it balanced and in this state of kind of rest and rejuvenation, you will be rejuvenated by the end of the month and ready to roar into 2021 and create some cool stuff. Hey, Suzanne Barlow, how are you? So that is your Taurus reading for the month of December. Again, it's a broad spectrum reading for a lot of different people, so just take what applies and leave the rest. If none of it made sense, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. You just might be working on something different, or your other planets could be at work in your chart. But this is for those with Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or heavily placed planets in Taurus. I feel like there's a transition happening, for sure. For sure. You just need to, like, get out of your own way, allow it to happen, honor yourself, and allow that, give yourself that gift. All right, there you go, guys. You're welcome, Coastal Maine. Thank you. Have a great day, you guys, and I will see you guys next month. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will be back in a moment. I gotta go feed the dogs, and then I'm gonna come back and do Virgo, and then tomorrow will be the air signs, and then water. All right, have a great day, you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.